Okay, well, welcome again to our reading of the Gospel of John, and we're up to the beginning of chapter 2. And this one's not quite so long, so I'll try and finish it all in one video. Kai te hemera te trite. So literally, and on the third day, gamos egeneto, there was a gamos, a wedding in Kana of Galilee. Kai hemeter, the mother of Jesus, Ain, was eke there. Now, Kalia can mean to call, but it also can mean to invite, and here, or to be invited, and here it says, and also Jesus was invited. This is the aorist passive from Kaleo. It's a slightly irregular form, which you just have to learn. But it's from Kaleo. This is the aorist passive. So Jesus was invited to the wedding and his disciples. Now, Greek often does this, including classical Greek, where you have one subject which is singular verb, and then you get a second subject, but the verb is still singular. We sometimes do it in English as well. So, and Jesus also was invited to the wedding, and his disciples. It's almost as an afterthought. Kai hustere santos oinu. Now this is our genitive absolute here. So they take the participle, which is hustereo, I think also hustereo you get, to run out, and oinos, wine, and you put the participle and the noun into the genitive, and you get this broken off piece called genitive absolute. And the wine having run out. The mother of Jesus says, historic present, pros auton, to him, oinon uk ekusin, they do not have wine. Kai, in square brackets, and Jesus says to her, aute. We get this funny expression that we also get in other Gospels, ti emoi kai soi gunai. It's literally, O woman, that's the vocative form from gune, gunaikos. And it's got a slightly funny vocative, which is this gunai. So literally, O woman, what thing for me and for you? Precisely what that means is slightly obscure. It could mean something like, what business is it of mine and yours? Or it might mean, what is there in common for me and for you? So in other words, what are your affairs got to do with me? Upo, this is from u plus po, not yet. He hora mu, my hour. Heike is has come. Now this is from the verb heiko, which is present in form but perfect in meaning. So this is another one of the verbs of coming and going. It's heiko. Despite the kappa, it's actually present in form. It just conjugates normally, but it's perfect in meaning, so it's I have come. And it's quite a common classical word. It turns up in the New Testament as well. So my hour has not yet come. And this is an expression John uses several times. His mother says to the diakonos, to the servants, hotian lege, who mean poiesete. Whatever thing, this is indefinite with an, so whatever thing, this is the subjunctive here, present subjunctive from lego, he might say to you. Whatever thing he might say to you, and we get an imperative, poiesete, do it. Now, asar at the beginning of a sentence is used impersonally, so there were, there, lithinai, hudrii, stone water jugs, hex, be careful, there's a hard breathing there, it's not X but hex, there were 6 of them, according to the cleansing rituals of the Jews, and they kamenai. This is a feminine participle from kamai, to lie. Kamenai is the participle, and it's feminine, agreeing with the hudrii, the stone water jugs. So there were 6 of them lying there, according to the ablutionary customs of the Jews, because they had to perform various cleansings as part of ritual. Korusai, this is a funny use here. This is again a participle from korio. It's a hard verb to translate, really. It simply means containing, having room for, or containing. And ana again is up to 2 or 3 measures. A measure is a certain certain amount of liquid. So containing up to 2 or 3 measures. And Jesus says to them, gemisete, this is from gemizdo is the verb, which is to fill, and this is the aorist imperative. So fill the water jars, hudotos, dative, with water. So we get fill the water jars, that's accusative plural, and this is a genitive here of containment here, so with water. And they filled them, hios ano, well, something like up to the brim, up to the top. Ano is above, so it's literally until the top, until the above. So filled them completely up, and he says to them, antlesati nun. Now antlao means to draw up, the drawing of water. So it's, in other words, take a sample. So draw now, so take some out of the jar now, kai ferete, again imperative, and carry it to the architrinklino. This is the chief of the chief steward, I think generally translated. He's in charge of the banquet, in charge of the serving the food and wine. And they, Einenkan, this is from Pharaoh, they carried it. So it should be, normally it's a strong aorist ending, but it's got a weak aorist here. So they carried it. And when the architriklinos, when the chief steward, egusato, this is from guamai, to taste, middle, deponent middle, when the chief steward tasted the water, gegene menon is a participle, accusative masculine participle agreeing with oinon, or possibly with hudor, having become, probably neuter in fact, agreeing with hudor, the water having become wine. This is from ginomai. It will be neuter, agreeing with hudor. And he did not know, that's from oida. That's a difficult verb to get used to. That's the past tense of oida, believe it or not. He did not know from whence estin it is. But the servants knew, this is the singular, this is the plural form. The servants knew, the ones having drawn it. This is the same verb we had up here. It's antleo. This is the perfect participle here, agreeing with diakonoi. So the servants knew, the ones who had drawn out the water, and the archiklenos, the chief steward, called to the numphion, the bridegroom, and he says to him, pas anthropos proton, every man at first, tithesi from tithemi, literally places, so you might say serves here, the kalon oinon, the good wine, kai hotan methus thosin, but when they have become drunk, this is from methuo, this is the aorist subjunctive here after hotan. So hotan is hote plus an. So it's whenever they have become drunk. Understand, he serves the lesser. This is comparative. The lesser, i.e. the lesser wine. You, teterikas, this is from terio, perfect, you have kept the good wine until now. Tautain epoiesen arcane. Now we get this comment now from John. So the subject is here, Jesus, epoiesen, he did this, so he made this beginning of signs. Now in John's Gospel, miracles are not called that, they're called signs. And so Jesus made this beginning of the signs in Kana of Galilee, and he revealed his glory. This is phaneroo, and his disciples believed in him. Various ways to believe in. You either have pistuo eis plus accusative, pistuo en plus the dative, pistuo with the dative with no preposition, or you can have pistuo epi plus the dative. They're all really exactly the same, they're just different expressions for the same thing. Here, John likes this idea of believe and he uses eis. Eis and en, by this stage of the language, are becoming slightly interchangeable, not completely, but eis and en are often confused in New Testament Greek. And you can't make any heavy theological conclusions on the basis of this. Here it's just believe in, as though it were just en. Meta tuto, after this, kat ebe from katabino, we had that before, he went down into Capernaum, both he himself and his mother and his brothers and his disciples, and they remained there polos hemeros, not many days. Greek often says not, it often says the opposite of what we would in English. So we would say they remained there for a few days. Greek always says not many rather than a few. Our next section then is the cleansing of the temple, and to Pascha, the Passover of the Jews, was near, and Jesus went up into Jerusalem. We get several different forms of Jerusalem in Greek. This is Hierosoluma. Anyway, Jesus went up into Jerusalem. Now this again is interesting because in John, Jesus goes to Jerusalem quite a number of times. In the other Gospels, he doesn't go anywhere near as often. He spends most of his time in Galilee. And he found in the temple those poluntas. This is from poleo. This is the present participle, and it's the object after the verb. So he found those selling. Polio is to sell. Boas, oxen and sheep, and peristeras, doves, and the Crematistes. The crematistes. These are the money changers sitting. And the money changers sitting. This story, interestingly, is told in the other Gospels, as you see from the little note up here, but it's told at the very end of the Gospels, not at the beginning. It's another one of the differences between John and the other Gospels. So the money changers, the Kermatistas, this is from Kermatistes. It's one of these first declension masculine nouns, often denoting professions, and having made flagellon. Now this actually is a Latinism. We get our word flagellation. The flagellum is a whip. Now the L and the R, being liquid letters, often get interchanged in Indo-European, so the Latin is flagellum, the Greek is phragellion, but they're cognates. So this is an example of a Latinism. It's a Latin word taken over into Greek. So having made a whip, ex skoinion, from cords or reeds or something, ex ebelen, he drove them all out from the temple. We get a tet and kai, both the sheep and the goat and the oxen. Again, this is a funny form of the accusative. We saw it up here as well. It's really from bus, but here we get boas as the plural here. And the he poured out. This is from ek keo. This is from ek keo. It's literally pour out, but it has this slightly developed meaning here of he upset, he overturned, he tipped everything upside down. The kerma, this is the temple money from the Kulabis, and he overturned the tables. So there's another word for the money changers. So he poured out, so he perhaps overturned the money, he let it go everywhere, of the money changers, and anastrepsen, he turned up from anastrepho, he turned upside down, if you like, the tables. And he said, now tois goes with the polusin. This is a dative plural participle going with tois. So he said to the ones selling the pigeons, arete, now this is from Iro. Iro is to lift, but can also mean take. So take, this is the aorist imperative. Take these things en tuthen, there, so take them somewhere else, he's pointing. Do not make, this is an imperative with may, do not make the house of my father into a house emporiu, a house of custom, so a house of business. An emporion, we still have the word emporion, meaning a shop, so it's a house of custom, or a place where you do business. And his disciples remembered that it had been written. Now this again is the periphrastic perfect periphrastic passive form from grapho. It is having been written, and so it had been written. So his disciples remembered that it had been written, hod zelos tu oikou su kataphagetai me. Again, a quotation from the Septuagint. Zeal for your house Kataphagetai is from katestheo, is the verb. Katestheo. And the estheo, eat. Katestheo is to devour. And this is the future. The future of estheo is phagomai. Aorist ephagon, another one of these these irregular verbs. You have to learn the principal parts. So zeal for your house will devour me, will consume me. And the Jews answered and said to him, Tis semeon, what sign dake nues? This is from dake nuo. In classical Greek and elsewhere in the New Testament, you get dake numi. It's one of these me verbs. But you're also getting, as we have here, a regularization of this, where they've turned this into an omega verb, dake nuo, and that's what we're getting here. What sign, it means to show. What sign will you show to us that you do these things? And Jesus answered and said to them, Lucete, destroy this temple, and in Trisi Hemeras, in 3 days, I will rebuild it. So this is an imperative here. You destroy this temple, and I will rebuild it in 3 days. The Jews therefore said to him, 46, so it's 46 years this temple was built. So it took 46 years to build this temple. This is the aorist passive from oikodomio, but without augment here. So this temple was built in 46 years, and you will raise it in 3 days. Question. But he, Eligen, was speaking regarding the temple of his body. And when, therefore, egerthe, that's again an aorist passive from egero, he was raised from the dead, no article, but from dead, but that's typical expression. His disciples remembered, from this is his verb of remembering. It looks like an aorist passive, but it's a deponent passive. It just means remembered, called to memory. So his disciples remembered that he was saying this, and they believed the scripture and the word which Jesus said. And final section, thus he was in Jerusalem. Notice this form of the word Jerusalem it does decline. This is a dative plural. Some of the other forms of Jerusalem don't decline. You're indeclinable. This one declines. So thus he was in Jerusalem at the Passover in the feast. Possibly hose here for when. So when he was in Jerusalem at the Passover at the feast, many believed in his name. Here we're getting pisteuo ace again. Seeing the signs of him, so seeing his signs, ha, relative pronoun, which he was doing, and Jesus himself did not, literally not believe here, but did not entrust auton, for heauton, himself, autois, to them. Technically it should be heauton, reflexive, but you often don't get that. So Jesus himself did not entrust himself to them on account of, now we get diatop plus infinitive, articular infinitive here for purpose, because him to know. Because he knew pantas all men, and because Aiken past tense from imperfect from echo. He did not have need. Now, there's this use of hina, translated as that. He did not have need that anyone might bear witness, subjunctive here, peri to anthropou, regarding a man. Houtos, autos gar, for he himself knew what was in the man, what was in a man. So in other words, he didn't need anyone to explain to him about what someone was like, because he himself knew what was in the man, what their true nature was. And that's the end of chapter 2.